Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and TopTes has been making an excellent array of different handheld sensors for various things. This is my new one. This is the CT-300. It is a carbon monoxide detector. Now I've done several on their various gas leak detectors, which are just outstandingly handy, and this thing sells for about $45 compared to, say, this Klein Tools carbon monoxide detector that sells for about $120. Now, a carbon monoxide detector, you might think, well, I already got one. It's on my wall or something, or built into my smoke detectors. Yes, those are hard programmed to trigger at a certain threshold. They don't have a digital display that tells you, one, if carbon monoxide is even present at any level, but then also if there is a level of carbon monoxide lower than what it takes to trigger it. It's all or nothing. Now, carbon monoxide, I'm just turning that on to get it running, warmed up. Carbon monoxide at about 100 parts per million. Oh, by the way, you can zero this. Notice it's picking up something. I'm going to go ahead and zero it for my shop here. So 100 parts per million, that's okay, I guess. It's at the beginning of when you start worrying. 200 parts per million, in about 2 or 3 hours you'll have a headache. 400 parts per million. Honestly, you could die in about 3 hours or more of exposure. 800 parts per million, now you're looking at a couple hours till death. And before you ever get to that, you're going to have a splitting headache and some other symptoms. You can look up all the nuts and bolts about what happens. Basically, carbon monoxide bonds with hemoglobin in your blood, and when that happens, you don't get oxygen. So that's how it poisons you. And then around 3,000, you'll get death in about 10 to 15 minutes, and same with anything above that, just you die faster. And I do know a guy who died. He was in his trailer, he was on a hunting trip, cooking some steak or something on his stove. You know, sat down, started reading something, got tired, fell asleep, and ended up dying. It happens with space heaters that are running on some kind of combustion, fireplaces, furnaces, places that can really start to have some incomplete combustion in an unventilated area. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and test this thing. This thing, first of all, has several features I want to point out. I'm not going to go into the weeds on it. You probably have to play with it yourself to know. Anyway, I did zero it. You can also turn on and turn off its sound. I can set it to hold. Show you this a little closer. To hold a setting, and that means I might be able to insert it somewhere and push a button and then pull it out and read it. I can set, if you look at this, different alarms. I've set this one for 60. And I can adjust that. You see, 59, 61. I'll go to 60. We'll test it at that. I also have another alarm I've set for 500, and so it will trigger an alarm at those settings, whichever I have turned on. Obviously, 60 before. Otherwise, it will just give me a reading. Let me save that. There we go. And it'll give me a reading. It goes up to 5,000, as I mentioned. Right now we're at 0. And this will give me, obviously, the level. I can also set it, there's a timer, so you can automatically turn it on or off over a certain amount of time. If the reason you'd want it on is if you were just testing something and you didn't want it to stay on and kill the battery. Or I can turn that off, and now it will run until the battery dies, which I may be using that if I'm using this for a warning, say in an RV or something like that. So anyway, the way you can test one of these, well, you could go buy an expensive bottle of carbon monoxide. It's like a little dust-off squirter, and you could squirt some CO directly in here to test it. Or you could put it in an environment that has known CO levels. Now, that is not recommended. It is not recommended to use like your car exhaust. That can have all kinds of other effects. There's plenty of stuff in the car exhaust that could trigger or keep this from firing off. But anyway, there's another simpler way to do it. And all you got to do is you get 2 snap-on tools. First of all, you get your long nose pliers because you're going to be holding something, and then you get your snap-on torch. Now, I have a third thing here, and these are not for sale. This is my Snap-on carbon monoxide testing bottle. You can get these from your Snap-on dealer. They're pretty expensive, and they come full of licorice or candy, and you have to dump that out. I don't know why. You can't just buy the bottle, but anyway, there it is. Now, the other thing is, of course, safety first. Here is my smoke, or my fire extinguisher for screwing around inside with this stuff. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to light this on fire. I'm going to put my detector in this container here, and I am going to put in some incomplete combustion right there. So I'll get that. Hopefully, how can you see that? Try to stand that up a little bit better. Snap-on needs to redesign these test chambers with a smooth bottom. Not super crazy. Try that. Okay, so I'm going to take my Snap-on torch, turn it on, and get this thing nice and fired up. You can see getting a little bit of orange there. Now the TopTes CT-300 carbon monoxide detector runs on 3 AAA batteries. You can see those 3 Duracells there. I tend to, as mentioned in the past, I tend to swap these out for lithium batteries for better cold weather performance and long term. Okay, so it's going. So what I'm going to do is put it in here, and maybe I should get that a little bit better. Can do it maybe like that, you can see. So there it is. What I'm going to do is take out the flame and drop it in. Now, what you're going to notice is it will pick up the detection. There it is. It's going up. Just fired off. So there's 100. Now I'm in a zone where I may not want to stay for very long. See how high this goes? There's 200. It's going to keep climbing, and that's just from that little thing. We'll go ahead and vent this. Clear it out. It's climbing down now. But anyway, as far as having one of these, it's one of those things that you might not have a direct use immediately for it until you have one, and then all of a sudden, you know what, I can silence that and we can watch it go down in peace. But anyway, and then you start realizing, oh, this might be a good time to check the CO level, say on a gas stove, especially in winter, especially when it's cold, when we tend to seal off areas. Now you can see it lit up, it's dropped down. We've got way back to safe levels. So this is a test for this thing. Shows that it works. A lot of times people just test them by pushing the button and hoping that means it works. But that's a reasonable test for carbon monoxide. Anyway, it comes with a case and instructions. Simple, swap out the batteries. It does have a battery indicator on here that tells you if there is a low battery. Simple design, worth the money, save a life. There it is, the TopTes CT-300 carbon monoxide detector. And with that, dock out.